I've spent a lot of time recently sort of wondering what would Rudy do in a time like this? And it's been very hard to come up with real clarity. You know, I walk the streets and I go, give me some insight. And the thing I remember most was at one point, Dean Rusk, I think he was Secretary of State, was speaking at the Hilton Hotel in New York. And I decided to protest. I don't remember why. And this was in the early days of being with Rudy. And I think I've told this story multiple times, but I was in front of the Hilton Hotel trying to turn over a police car. And a whole group of policemen on horseback came charging at us with their clubs out. And they were within inches of me, and one of the guys took his club and went, and I just pulled my hand away fast enough that I managed to keep my hand. And the car got badly dented. And I went, boy, that felt stupid. Why am I risking my hand for Dean Rusk? And I went back and I remember telling Rudy rather proudly that I had been out there protesting this bad behavior by the government. And he got really angry at me. And he said, that's not your business. Your business is this. Your business is connecting to yourself and going as deep as you can, finding your foundational being, letting go of the impact of the world around you, and being deeply connected and rooted in yourself. And I would have said that was my last protest, but many years after that, I did go to another protest, and I remember saying to Blanche along the road, these are the angriest people I've ever seen in my life. There was no love, there was no joy, there was no positivity, and I never went again. I was talking to Anne the other day, and she was reminding me of a story that I had really forgotten, which ties into all this. A man named Pir Vilayat Khan, a Sufi master, was giving a talk at Rudy's ashram. And I was right up front, which is where I always sat, listening to this talk, which was very pleasurable. Nobody's talks to me resonated like Rudy's silence, to be honest. Rudy's transmission of pure energy did not need words, and when they were translated into words, the words were interesting, but I tried not to lock into them with my mind, just to let them come as energetic forces into me. But Rudy's stillness was the real teaching, potent. But Pir Vilayat Khan gave a lovely talk, but while he was talking, a group of Black Muslims arrived at the back of the room, and they were a very threatening presence. And we didn't know what they were there for. They were not part of the class. And one sensed some possible danger. And Rudy said to me, as Pir Vilayat Khan was exiting the room, form like a barricade around him. So somehow I, who am the least embattled person that I know, the least capacity person to help fight a battle, was like the front of Pir Vilayat Khan as we're walking out, and a group of other guys surrounded him. And as we walked out of the classroom, the Black Muslims walked out into the entryway, out the way to the stairs, and surrounded us and began accusing him of not being a true Muslim, being very hostile, very threatening. And it felt like, and Rudy described it later, like an assassination was brewing. And I thought, what am I doing here? I'm not a warrior in that regard. I didn't know how to defend him. I didn't know quite what to do. So I did what in my mind was the smartest thing I could do, which is I meditated. I got really deep inside. I got really quiet. I stood by the banister of the stairs and I just disappeared into this largeness of being, if you will. And I thought, I'm really doing the practice. This is the teaching. And I felt amazing. And then all of a sudden I hear this voice saying, Bruce, you idiot, what are you doing? Rudy's screaming at me. And he said, there could be an assassination here, and you're going into meditation. That is the last place you go when you're meditating or when you're in a situation like this. You don't go into putting your head in the sand. You arrive at this moment and you show up completely. And it was an amazing teaching. It was like nothing could have been more direct, more instantaneous, more awakening than that moment. And I thought, oh my God. And I just showed up. And the guys who were surrounding Pierre Vilayat Khan found that Rudy's eruption so unexpected and so disrupting that they kind of backed away, and Pierre went up the stairs, and all of us who were protecting him went up the stairs, and these guys just stood there completely dislodged by the experience, and then they walked out the door. And the whole thing was over. And it turned out that my meditation, inappropriate as it was the mechanism that freed the situation and allowed Pierre to go upstairs unharmed and allowed these guys to leave. And it gave me one of the great lessons. And the great lesson to this day is show up. Meditation is not to walk away from life, it is to enter life. It is to be present in every possible way in the world, to be deeply alert, but grounded, deeply grounded. And the word deep is really important because casual grounding is not the answer. Grounding on occasion, every so often you can kind of get there. It's not great training. It's not good basic support system for you. Support system is depth over time, going down into these spaces and finding the power of just being central to yourself, being there. Dabbling in spiritual work will not pull that off. If you are a dabbler and you make yourself feel good because you are an occasional meditator, I mean, no, not to be critical of that, but if you're really trying to be a functioning, capable servant of higher energy, you cannot dabble. You have to be present as much as humanly possible. And one of the things the world seems to do is test that. It tests your commitment. And it tests it because it wants to know, are you available to it? Are you available to help be an active participant in a world that needs you? If you are, you will be used. If you are not, you will not be used. You will just go about your day and you will live your life according to your plans and preferences and things that make you happy, or avoid sadness, or avoid whatever it is you're avoiding. But somebody like that is not a tool that the universe can employ well and will not. If you wish to be a servant of, an employee of, a conductor of that higher purpose of what the universe is trying to do in the world, you have to be strong, capable, and committed. Will you understand moment to moment what that means, how you're being used, how the process is working? No. Because much of what transpires in the spiritual journey bypasses your intellect and your mind. It cannot grasp what is happening or why. And I think many of us right now are experiencing that with the larger world, because there is so much going on in the world that doesn't cognate. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up in ways we want or need it to add up. We don't know how to function for it because we're not even sure what that means. And the only way to know how to present yourself to the world and to be available to the world is not through intellect and knowledge. It has much more to do with feeling. It has much more to do with sensing in a very quiet way, a mechanism for presenting yourself as a servant of this thing we'll call love, consciousness, presence, kindness, goodness, to be a manifester of that. It may have dramatic purpose, it may have gentle purpose, it'll have whatever it will have at any given moment. And as I've said many times, there will be times where you are directed to do, to act, to affect something, and there will be times where you will not be directed, where nothing will happen. It has been my understanding, for better or for worse, when there is no direction, then it doesn't matter which you choose. If the universe is not saying do this, do that, then do what you do. Just be. But when you are told to effectuate something, meaning reach out to somebody, love somebody, offer comfort, be a good person, whatever that may be, and then the message comes through loud and clear, you do not want to be a person who kind of go, what, really? But I got so many other things to do, or that is of no use to anyone, including you. When the presentation makes itself known and it says, be available, show up, reach out, just do it. Just do it. It is sort of amazing. Also, I discovered this week, nothing really new for me, I was on one of my walks and I was saying, God, help me. I am feeling lost and uncertain about choices to make, what to do. The world was clouding in on me and crowding in on me, and I didn't like what I was seeing around me. And I kept looking for some deep inner awakening to say, okay, here's what's happening, do this, do that. It didn't happen that way. Instead, a number of people called me on the phone. And I realized in the midst of these conversations that, oh, that's how the universe is speaking to me. God is speaking to me through other. That I have had all of my prayers answered, not by this inner stillness, but by the voice of people who cared, the voice of people around me. And not only do they come to you with answers, they often come to you with questions. And those questions are often the avenue to the answer. And it's really remarkable because we are not given what we want in the way we want it. It comes in the way it needs to arrive. And either we are available to that arrival or we're not. And that has to do with showing up. Can you show up to this moment? And in a way, it's what Rudy was saying to me when Pir Vilayat Khan was going upstairs. This is not the time to meditate your way out of reality. This is not the time for you to go somewhere else or to hide your head in the proverbial sand. This is the time to be deeply, profoundly present. And I think we are living in a moment in time where showing up and being present is really going to be essential. I find my mind and my emotions very unsettled by the world drama at the moment and by my own lack of clarity of what do I do? How do I respond to these really kind of awful presentments that appear to be on the horizon and appear to be even more so in our actual lives? I have a very strange few weeks ahead, 6 weeks or so, with holidays, of course, like we all do, with a bat mitzvah in Atlanta, an 80th birthday of a friend in Oakland, California, lots of travel, lots of things that are supposed to be happening, and huge doubt about what to do. And if you turn on the news, which I don't tell you to do or not to do, but if you turn on the news, it's becoming hysterical on many levels. The crisis in healthcare is great. The political crises forming around us appear to be great. And I have felt really overwhelmed by it and not able to really know how to address it. So much so that I have thought maybe I'm not up to this thing that I do called teaching. That I sit before you as though I know something, when in truth, I find over the course of time that I know less and less. And occasionally deep insights occur that help me find the way, allow me to feel I can open to love and give energy to people, which is very helpful. But in terms of awareness and knowledge, I'm pretty clueless. And that cluelessness has proven to be problematic because it makes me go, should I be doing this? Should I be sitting in front of any of you and teaching? Because I don't know. I just don't know. I know the things I'm telling you. I'm trying to express myself as lovingly and as openly as I can, but I have to pull back any kind of belief system in any of you that I have real answers. The one thing I have, whatever that is this thing that Rudy offered. He called it Shaktipat, but really it's an ability, wordless ability, ultimately, to love, to care, to look at you and to look into you and to feel connection and to feel the beauty of your being enough that I think you might actually, in looking into my eyes, feel the beauty I'm seeing, feel the love I'm witnessing, and that will help you feel better about yourself. That seems real. It seems worth sharing. Even if I can't give you information about your life and what you should do in your life and where you should go or what you shouldn't do, I don't have that. If anything, what I'm noticing is how unbelievably different we all are, how remarkably inconclusive our lives are, how much we experience in joy and suffering in very different ways, and how much we are all, in existential terms, heading for a precipice that is unavoidable, whenever it may arrive. I am sort of learning that rather than try to bury myself into a meditative state, if I can bring that depth of awareness into day-to-day functioning, which is often not doing very much, it's just being there, showing up. Meaning, if I can wake my wife up in the morning because she can't hear the alarm go off anymore, if I can wake her up with real love and affection and introduce her to the day with compassion and gratitude, that's real. That's a real use of time. I can sit and enjoy breakfast like nobody. I love my breakfast. It's the simplest, dumbest breakfast in the world. It's just peanut butter on a piece of called Ezekiel bread and a little bit of jam. And I sit there and go, oh my God. And my cup of coffee in the morning. It's very present tense. And then I've told you all, I finish breakfast, and I often read the newspaper now on a computer because I don't want to bend my head down to look at the table because that hurts my neck. So I look straight forward. And I read news and I go, I don't want to read that. I don't want to read that. I get the headline, I get the idea. And then I'm done. I close the computer and I sit there and I go, I have nothing on the agenda. No idea what the right thing to do is. What's come up for me is walking and just walking. And I can walk in my house and I can walk outside. There's something incredibly beautiful about just walking. It's a little bit mindless, but that's fine. It's very meditative in a way, but it's very engaged and it's really good for my back and it's really good for my whole body. And I do that. And when I get home, there's usually an email to answer, or there's any number of things that come out of nowhere, or something rises up in me. The great thing that I have as a background for me is these photographs I take often want me to work with them. And I can open up my photographs and they are incomplete in my mind and they want to be made more something. I would call it beautiful. Bringing beauty into the world is unbelievably satisfying. Unbelievable. Taking something that is not there yet and making it whole is a remarkable thing. It doesn't make you money. It doesn't give you a career or a gallery show or anything. It has no future other than being present, creating something beautiful. It's doing from a very quiet place. Then the phone rings, an unexpected phone call. And that phone call is shockingly wonderful. Someone you didn't want to expect, not that you didn't want, but you didn't expect to show up, arises. I'm just giving you an idea of how a day unfolds with these things happening, and it fulfills itself. And it gives you a sense of completion. In the old days, if I didn't write a scene for a movie and I didn't get a paycheck and I didn't have some idea of future that movie was going to get made and it was going to be celebrated and it would give me money to pay for my children, that was all how I lived. Now that doesn't exist. Now it's just, can I do a photograph? I think I've told you I'm thinking about writing this musical. I don't think it will ever get done. And writing songs for me is not my forte. But the idea of bringing myself to the table seems meaningful. And I am being, if you will, directed toward that. And I share this with you because many of us now may be going back into what you might call lockdown syndrome, where being outside is really not a healthy endeavor. I don't know. They're saying if you have, 2 vaccine shots and a booster, you're fine, but now you're hearing if the first shots, the wall's not holding anymore, the second wall may not hold. Just a lot of strange information, all of which can produce a lot of fear if you produce a kind of vision of the future. The whole idea of spiritual practice is bring your mind back from that. Bring it down so that you're not living in an abstract future of fear and worry, but you're just here in the present. Try not to dig back into the back where you have things that were historically unpleasant. Bring yourself to this simple place and go deep, be present, and be very much aware of surroundings, of what's going on, of who you are in this moment, and be available to the thing that rises up. If nothing rises up, you can sit and meditate if you want. You can go for a walk. You can call somebody. You can paint a picture. Blanche and I just bought a whole big thing of clay. You can start playing with clay. There's things one can do in the midst of non-activity in the world that brings you into a place of creation, satisfaction, the making of beauty, whatever it may be. And even if you're not good at it, like I'm a terrible cook, but I'm about to start learning how to cook meals. And I'm going to make food for my wife and for myself in a way that I have never been able really to do before, because it's presenting itself as an opportunity. I'm trying to throw all this stuff at you, not to celebrate my thought process or the way I'm trying to move forward in the world, but to make you think for yourself. How do I move forward in the world, even if it's by sitting still? What do I do? And I can only tell you form depth, form a kind of bedrock of being that gives you a sense of self, a sense of presence, a sense of living in this moment and not the next one. Don't give yourself over to the future. The future will come at you, and you will have opportunities to do what you have to do in the future. It will be a present tense experience. I did not expect when Pir Vilayat Khan was sitting talking in Rudy's classroom that I was going to have to defend his life walking up the stairs against possible assassins. Whether they were really planning that or not, I don't know. But had I sat there and worried about it and feared about it, I think I would have been incapable of doing anything. The fact that I got into the hallway and started to meditate, and that was, for me, a great lesson of doing the wrong thing. Not showing up is the problem. Showing up is the answer. But show up deep and show up strong. Find your center. Find your core and be that moment to moment to moment. If you surrender deeply, what you will discover is that that solidity of form, that strength, is already there. You don't have to create it. You don't have to manufacture it. There's no you to do anything. It's really like if you let go of all there is in your mind, in your thought process, even in your heart, and you enter into emptiness, which I've talked about a lot recently, and you can get over the fear of emptiness, which is hard. But if you can do it, you will see the bedrock of being that lies beneath it. And if you can go toward that bedrock, you will see that it is in the process of giving birth to time and space. And that giving birth is creating and making itself known through an experience called love. Love rises out of nothing, out of that depth of being, and it rises up, and it has beauty in it, it has truth in it, and it has this incredible directive to continue to make things loving and beautiful and truthful. And then, as I talk about weekly, kind and good, and sharing this with people. This is the essence of a spiritual life. And now that we're being surrounded by such sort of chaotic exterior world, it's really important to find your way into this space. Find your way into the depth of being where it does it, and you are no longer the actor. You are the thing which it works through. It works through you. You're not doing it. It's happening because of you, with you, and because you are, in a way, an expression of it. You have always been an expression of it. The fact that you've divided into this thing of who am I and what is this and how do I do it, that's just part of the mind process. It's not like it's wrong. It's kind of built into the system. But the spiritual life finds its way back into core identity, which is I am that. And that is strength, power, substantial grounding in depth. And out of that comes everything. And so when you take this class, when you sit on your own, when you find your way into your own present tense reality, that's what will be there. And if nothing is there, go deeper. Just go deeper. And when you ask for help, don't be surprised if it comes from a phone call or something you just read on the news. It comes from all over the place. It doesn't always come as a simple, quiet answer. It comes from being itself. And you are absolutely part of, one with, and at the core of being. I have been finding this an incredibly challenging time. I think I've expressed that a little bit. I have contemplated not teaching at all. I think I have talked about that a little bit. Some people go, oh, no, you need to teach. I think other people go, oh, thank God, enough of this. But I don't know what my role is exactly. I have a feeling I'm meant to show up and repeat myself ad nauseum. Lao Tzu, the great philosopher, came to a point where he said, enough said, and he just left town. He just left. And I feel often motivated in that way. I really don't know what I should do next or how to do it other than kind of what I've been doing. But there's something in me saying, quiet down a little bit. I've been sort of led into this idea of a sabbatical, of just letting it go for a period of time. And I'm not talking a long time, maybe, a couple months, 6 weeks even, just not teaching, just being and seeing where it goes. I have not made a definitive decision to do that, but if you do not get a announcement that there's a class in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, it's not tragic. It's not the end of the world. I will keep in touch with you and let you know what I'm doing and where I think I want to head. But it is possible that I will be relatively quiet for a while. We'll see. I really don't know. But I don't think I'm abandoning this. I will listen to whatever voices I hear and find my way. I will tell you that I love you guys deeply and I would never abandon you. And if any one of you wants to reach out and say, hi, how are you? What's going on? Or talk to me about your stuff, I am absolutely available and around. And I really care about you. I think the teaching thing is right. I think it feels right. But a little time off is not the wrong thing for me. And so I'm going to, I think, step back. And of course, that could change by next week. So try not to hold me to anything. But it is a time, I think, where I just want to be still and see what I see, feel what I feel. And I also know that when Rudy passed, as hard as it was, it felt like he gave me one of the great gifts, because I knew deeply that I was on my own. Not that I didn't continue studying with other teachers, but I knew completely that it was up to me. And when he yelled at me on that staircase and said, this is not the time to disappear, that lingered. And the idea of showing up is really everything. And everyone has to do that on their own without reminders from me. Show up. And the time ahead of us is really going to be you and it together, working it, playing it, figuring it out, doing the right thing. And if you're always waiting for somebody else to guide you through it, look to your own self. Look to the depth of your own being. Take ownership. This is your ride. This is your life. All of our lives have great power. They all have enormous intensity. They have directionality, but ultimately they're about how am I, who am I right now? And you will discover, as you've heard from all spiritual teaching, the right now, the now is everything. Not the what will be, what comes down the road, because of course, whatever will be and comes down the road will be now. Nothing new to that. The past tense really fades away, and you kind of find yourself going, okay, so, oh well, I will be done. That is it. And so I'm encouraging you all to take whatever little sabbatical you might want and find your own power, your own depth, your own connection. Teachings from other people are very helpful to push you in that direction, but in the end, it's just you. It's just you. So take this time, whatever it may be. And again, don't be surprised if I say there's a class in 2 weeks, and don't be surprised if you don't hear from me. It will play itself out. But I want you to know that this is all an act of love, that I really do love you, and that I'm around. I am available. And if you need or want anything, cool. All right. But something is going on. I don't know what it is. I'm explaining it to you without any kind of clarity because I don't have clarity, but it is an incredibly important newness. So I will do this. I will wish you a Merry Christmas. I hope you do have a merry, joyful time with whoever that you may be with, and maybe if it's just yourself, may it be merry. I wish you a happy new year, because we're heading into something, of course, new. Every day is new, but this new year is starting out kind of less appealing perhaps than other New Year's have, but it's new, and who knows, moment to moment, day to day, what will be brought to us. But happy New Year, because I really wish you happiness, and I wish you contentment, and I wish you love, and we'll see where this all unfolds. I don't know what more to say. I can offer you all an opportunity to ask questions if you have questions, and if you don't have them as a group, we can talk privately or just wait and see what happens. Todd, you always seem to be the first person. Go for it.
That is true. Yeah, Bruce, thank you, first of all, for just showing up and teaching week in and week out and sharing, what's happening inside of you. I guess this may come off as a selfish sort of feedbacks. I know when you said, I question whether I should be sitting here teaching, I don't have the answers. I know less and less. Part of me was like, no, you have to be here. And I realized part of it is because I get so much out of this and our connection. But part of it is that, just for feedback from one of your students, I don't come to meditation with a specific question or problem. I come because something extraordinary happens during class. I get a clarity. I get a sense of perspective and connection that I don't get really in any other aspect of my life in this way. And so I don't come necessarily looking for answers, but what I get is a sense of clarity I didn't realize I was even searching for. And in that way, answers beat the questions even. And for me, that is like vital to my life. Part of me wants to like almost say, I get that Rudy passed away and then you didn't have him and you had you and what he gave you, and you're not dead. So like, I would hate to lose you in that way, but I totally appreciate and respect whatever works best for your self-care. But as a student, I can just tell you, like, I don't come for the talk and looking for the magical answer. I come because there's a connection and something that I can't explain other than it's something that feeds me on a level that, doesn't just show up at my doorstep.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I love you guys. Unless anybody else has something they need to articulate. George, is that a goodbye, or is that a question?
That was sort of a statement of Rudy used to say, the teacher is a guide. They point you in a direction, but evidently, eventually you have to go off and around and get there. But what's so appealing about your communication to everybody is that you admit you're not perfect, and maybe your imperfection is what's so appealing to everybody here, Bruce. I just feel that you're a little bit ahead of most of us, and we're trying to catch up, but we also have to realize we have to do this on our own. I appreciate your teachings.
Thank you, George. Yeah, I appreciate you all. Heather?
I want to echo what's already been said. I'm so grateful to you, Bruce and Blanche, for the time and the energy that you give to us. On the energetic level, it's extremely profound. It's often the most profound thing that happens to me during the week. But on the teaching level too, very, very helpful. Today, there is something that I'd been thinking about, and you answered it in an indirect way through your talk. So I just want to give the feedback of how helpful this is. I also appreciate that you have your journey and you might need a break for different reasons. But I did notice you didn't show up in your orange shirt today, and I wondered about that.
I often don't anymore. I change shirts because I don't want to be identified with any particular form or color,
Okay. Well, I just want to express my deep gratitude for what I am receiving, because it's extremely profound. So I thank you both for what you do for all of us.
Thank you for including Blanche in that. It really, you have no idea how central she is in this whole process. Her voice is not loud, but her presence is screaming to all of us, and so much love pours from her. And I am a beneficiary, and then you are as well. Yes.
I just wanted to say, Bruce, thank you so much for all that you've given to me thus far, and all that you give to me all week, not just on Sundays. And, you know, I keep you in my heart and in my mind as I go through the difficulties of my week, which continuously just sort of drop these sort of like bird droppings on me constantly, of like this everyday, you know, stressors. And so, yeah, but I do understand, you know, all creatures need time off, you know, and it is that time of year where there's hibernation, there's a time to rest and recuperate and regenerate. And I adore you and Blanche, and you know, it's just endless, you know, good stuff that I get from you. So, and I do want to hear that musical. So, there's things to do. Thanks for letting me.
I think I said that my first song is called Detroit, and I need to find words that rhyme with Detroit. So not easy, but yes, it may be something that can be done without any ending in sight. You know, just there's something about revisiting your life from a musical perspective, a rhyming perspective, that gives it a lighter texture than when you kind of go at it as a whatever, a movie or something harder. So I think all of us should occasionally look at our own lives as musicals and find out what songs define us, what songs speak to us about our own lives. It would be really interesting. Okay, oops, Tara.
I just wanted to thank you truly, because I realized it's been 30 years that I've been coming to your class. And I don't think I would have survived my 20s in Los Angeles without coming to Northridge every week and having that as a grounding depth and spiritual community. And you've provided spiritual community to all of us for so long. And it's such a rare and beautiful jewel, because there's so little community in Los Angeles, and there's so little community in the world right now. And it's so profound how much love and how much cultivation you've been able to do of just the laws of attraction, really. And even in your humility and your ability to not want to teach. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'm grateful that I've known you for 30 years. And
more, almost 50.
Yeah. And I have been teaching for almost half a century, which is a long time to be sitting and doing this. And I have learned a lot, and I have forgotten is the wrong word. The stuff I have learned has been removed because it cannot be ultimately spoken or articulated. It really can't. It's something non-verbal, even in some ways non-emotional. And I am learning levels of it now that I never knew about before, but they are very hard to put into words. So again, thank you guys for freeing me to do whatever I need to do right now. And
yes.
We'll see.
I just wanted to say one thing. Thank you so much for logging so many talks and so many classes on your website so that we can go to those too.
Yes, that's a good point. They're close, I don't know, 500 or 600 talks. You're not going to be without me until YouTube disbands all that stuff. And Arkady said he's recorded it somewhere. So they do exist. So it's not a total dispersal. And it may not be a dispersal at all. You may see me in a month or even a week. But this is just a process, and we'll figure it out, and we'll all go through it together. And I love you all. The only real takeaway is take charge of your existence, find a way through the stuff that's happening around you and in your community, in your life, in your mind, in your head, and in your heart, and find strength, find solidity, find openness, and be available to what guides you to move to the next step, whatever that may be. Thank you. Love you all.